The user journey, 5 stages. To a user, the service journey is about task friction or ease, nothing more abstract than that. Let's read Elena's scenario together. She opens the rental app. The booking is confirmed, but there's no pickup bay shown. Already a small crack in experience. She asks the chat for help and gets back a generic policy PDF instead of an actual answer. Then things get better. The garage screen and the QR code work smoothly. The car unlocks. It's clean, three-quarters of a trunk. But then an unexplained $1,000 pound security hold email arrives with no in-app context. A drop off, the scan is instant and the numbers are technically correct, but the whole sequence still feels opaque to her. Notice how the positive moments are both episode signals, things that happen in that instant, while the negative ones, the lingering anxiety about the hold, is a state signal, a condition that will color every future interaction with ICR. Here's why Elena's single rental compresses the entire 5 stage user journey. The missing pickup bay is an introduction and orientation failure. The system did not prepare her for arrival. The scripted PDF response is a sustaining and evolving failure. The help mechanism does not actually solve her specific problem. And the unannounced security hold is an organizational integration failure, a policy that should have been communicated during onboarding but was not. For the exam, remember that stages 1 and 2 are where first impressions form. Stages 3 and 4 are where the most common anti-patterns actually show up, because that's where systems tend to stop supporting users once they are past the happy path. User journey concerns and anti-patterns. This table 5.1, in the book is dense, so don't try to memorize every cell. Focus instead on being able to place a described situation into the right stage and name the right anti-pattern. The 3 anti-patterns that come up again and again in exam question are help deflects to PDFs at stage 3, feedback black holes at stage 4, and fine print surprises at stage 1. Each one maps to a trust dimension. PDF deflection is a benevolence failure because it signals the system does not actually care about the user's specific situation. Feedback black holes and fine print surprises are both integrity failures because something was not honestly or fully communicated. Continuing the table into stages 4 and 5, organizational integration and exit and re-entry. Notice backstage enabler work remains invisible here. A small preview of the enabler journey we will cover in part 4. And look at the shadow IT/workarounds, anti-pattern back at stage 2. This is important. When users routinely bypass a broken official process, the system's own metrics look healthy, low error rates, reasonable completion times, but that apparent calm is actually hiding the problem because users have simply learned to avoid the path that does not work. That's the false quiet anti-pattern from earlier in the course, now showing up specifically in the user journey. And then we have the customer journey, 5 stages. For a customer, the journey is about adoption, cost, and outcomes. Homer, ICR's IT delivery manager, is trying to replace failing on-premise servers with a cloud service. His users want speed, procurement wants hard SLAs, the provider resists detailed commitments, early outages coincide with the provider getting defensive, And even though the KPIs look fine on paper, Omo becomes the default escalation point, accountable for outcomes he does not fully control, or negotiating between silos and absorbing everyone's misalignment. That's the defining shape of the customer role, accountability without full control. The customer's journey is structurally different from the users. Users experience the service directly, customers experience it indirectly through what their users report, what their sponsor expects, and what the provider's own metrics claim. Notice the negative movement that landed here: unresolved concerns about exit costs and provider responsiveness, a relational state signal. That's important because it means Omo is not starting the preparation and launch stage afresh. He is carrying unresolved worry from selection and agreement forward with him. So when the provider gets defensive during early outages, it does not just create friction in the moment, it confirms a fear he already has. State signals compound. Customer journey concerns an anti-pattern. Customers sit at the intersection of three competing pressures. Users saying, fix the friction we experience daily. Sponsors saying, demonstrate the value you promised. And providers saying, meet the agreed SLA metrics. Those three rarely align perfectly, and the customer's job is to navigate the gap. The single most damaging anti-pattern here is defensive providers at stage 4, when something goes wrong and the provider's instinct is to protect the metrics rather than acknowledge the customer's lived experience. All the relational trust built in stages 1 through 3 drains away fast. This connects back to something we covered earlier on. Compliance is not the same as contribution. Being SLA compliant while being experimentally defensive, or rather experientially defensive, is still a failure, just a relational one rather than a functional one. Two more anti-patterns worth flagging as you look at this table: hidden exit costs at stage 2 and blame cycles at stage 4. Hidden exit costs are the agree step failure we discussed earlier on in the course, now expressed in customer journey language. When exit terms are buried or opaque, a customer who might otherwise renegotiate in good faith instead starts to feel trapped, and the relationship tilts from cooperative to coercive. That's usually where the seeds of eventual churn gets planted, even if the actual exit does not happen until stage 5. The consumer sponsor journey, 5 stages. To a consumer sponsor, it's about confidence and resilience. Max, ICR's CIO, approved the move to cloud specifically for resilience. When a geopolitical event threatens the provider's hosting region, she asks about fallback options. The provider talks confidently about redundancy, but goes vague the moment she presses on supply chain specifics. A minor outage coinciding with the unrest sharpens her doubt. Nothing actually breaks, but her confidence does. Her own works capture it best. She realizes she's not just asking about uptime, she's asking for trust. Can this partner protect ICR strategically, not just technically? Max's experience is the most indirect of the 3 consumer roles. She doesn't use the app, she does not negotiate the contract, she reads quarterly portfolio reports and attends occasional steering meetings. So her trust is built or eroded almost entirely through narrative signals: tone, willingness to acknowledge risk, and coherence between what's promised and what actually happens under pressure. This scenario is exam gold because it shows how an external event, something the provider did not cause, can still activate a sponsor's latent doubts and flip a confident state into an anxious one, purely because the provider's answer to a specific question was not good enough.